재밌는 걸 많이 했네 사람들이.
So, good day everyone. So, whenever we think of insects or we search for them on the internet, the first groups that come into mind are usually these ones. So, the mantis, butterflies, well, they're pretty, and they're pretty large compared to other groups. And also this one. So, some are considered pests, so they're also known. But, what about these ones? So, are you familiar with some of these? So maybe the cicadas, so they're pretty loud the past few months here. So let me introduce to you the flatted plant-hoppers of the Philippines so far. Okay. So what are flatted plant-hoppers? So these are under the group Hemiptera, which are distinguished by their piercing sucking mouthparts, which is straw-like, and then their membranous roof-like wings. Okay? And then they're under the suborder Ochinarynca, which are characterized by their setaceous antennae under the eye. So usually, most insects have their antennae here, but they're pretty unique because it's under their eyes. So they look like they don't have antennae. And they're also called true hoppers because they have powerful hind legs for jumping. So these are all the documented families of this group so far, and what I'm studying is the Platypus. Okay, so they are distinguished through the granulate cavus. So it is the part of the wings near the back of the head, and then the cross veins, so the lines at the edge of their wings. So the juveniles or their babies are covered with wax, and most species we documented are having numerous long wax filaments, such as those in the photo. So for the Flattidae in the Philippines, so worldwide there are almost 1,800 species, but in the country there's only 20 species under 16 genera which are currently recorded, and these are some of them. So there are 6 species in the Luzon. So the Philippines have 3 island groups. So these are those in Luzon, only 2 documented in Visayas, and many of which are recorded in Mindanao. So those do not have a photo online in literature. And there are also 5 species which are not documented, or there are no photos anywhere. Okay, so for my study, so it is obvious that it is an understudied group. So we usually do opportunistic sampling through net sweeping. So they are sometimes hidden under the leaves or the stems, so we do sweeping of the plants. And then some species are also attracted to light trapping, so we can collect them there. Some are also trapped on mallee straps, so they are collected on top of there, because the insect's tendency whenever they are in unfamiliar places is to go up. So they're collected there. And then whenever we can, if the insect is not that mobile, so we do photo documentation, because some stored specimens, their colors fade. So for us to also record the color of the insect if it's when it's still alive. Okay, so far these are the sampling sites where we were able to collect flatted plant hoppers. So first, of course, is the Mount Makiling here in Laguna, Mount Tapulao in Zambales, in the mountains of Calanasan, Apayao, UPLB land grant in Paque, Laguna. So for Visayas, we only have 2 sites, so Mount Suiro and Mount Camalo, Bagoan in Biliran. Then lastly, just recently, we did sampling in Mount Timpoong in Kamikin, Mount Tumog, and Mount Atangkod in Bukidnon. So, for the documented platids and plant associations, so I was not able to tell earlier that these groups, along with other families, are herbivorous. So it is actually important to know their host plants, but with literature, there's no recorded host plants of the species in the Philippines. So we did our best to record the host plants in the sampling sites. So these are the species we were morphospecies we were able to collect in Mount Tapulao, Zambales. And then these are from various sites. So species in Pakil, Calanasan, Suiro, and my favorite so far, the pink flatted landhopper of Mount Tungog. And the numerous Somicia in forestry. So there's also in Mount Kamalo, Bagoan, and again in Calanasan. So other species, because they are very mobile, we were not able to document in situ. But among the species we collected so far, 90% of them does not match the recorded species in the Philippines. So they might actually be newly discovered species, or at least, surely, their new distribution records. So as for the recorded plant associations, so we just call it plant associations because we are not sure yet if they are host plants. So many species are recorded in ficus species, specifically Saptica and then Pseudopalma. And then there's also recorded in Piper. So for those important in agriculture, so there's also some in mango and then durian. So other plants I was not able to include here are the Caimito, Nauplea, and then the Rubus rossifolius. So we have to check if there are nymphs or waxy areas in the plants for it to be considered host plant, since it has to support the life cycle and then the next generations of the species. But of course, further studies needs to be conducted to confirm. And I hope we can indeed conduct further studies as we observe some disturbances in some of our sampling sites. So there are disturbances and anthropogenic activities such as cainging and deliberate burning. So hunters do that for new grasses to emerge, and then it is very attractive to some wild animals. And then there's also some in Calanasan, Apayao. So I hope this study may contribute to the strict implementation of protection in these sites, especially Mount Tapulao is not a protected area. So for the final message, I just want to share a statement by Christian Lucanias, Kuya Ichan, a Filipino entomologist I look up to because it resonates with me, and I think based on the presentation 2 days ago, most people that work on biodiversity research do too. So we always champion the biodiversity of the Philippines, but biodiversity expeditions here in the country are always affected by problems such as the long processing of permits and of course the lack of funding. So I hope this can change. So thank you very much for these institutions and groups for making this study possible. And to all the friends, experts, and guides that I got to be with in our field expeditions. That will be all. Maraming salamat po. And thank you very much.